In the meantime, Hillary Clinton is kicking off a two-day tour through the Appalachian region today. The Democratic frontrunner is looking ahead to Kentucky and West Virginia's primaries later this month. Clinton also trying to remind voters of the $30 billion pledge she's made to help coal regions. She's apologized for comments she made in March about plans to put coal companies and coal miners out of business. So let's talk about the strategy here. We're joined by Joe Trippi, the former campaign manager for Howard Dean and a Fox News contributor. Karl Rove is also with us, former senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to George W. Bush, also a Fox News contributor. Joe, this Clinton tour in a couple of coal mining states, is it good politics? Is it smart planning by the Clinton campaign?
Of course it is. I mean, these are primaries that are coming up, and I think getting the Scooby van out and going through these states, explaining her positions is a smart thing to do, particularly given the problems that the Republicans are having right now, where you've got 30% of Cruz voters saying they won't vote for Trump, and vice versa the other way. It's a good chance for her to start making the case, not just in the primary, but in these very difficult red states that are likely to go Republican anyway. There may be an opening.
But there's a Democratic primary in Indiana. There are other states that she is not looking so strong in, Karl. Why go to those two states right now?
Well, Joe's right. She wants to get the delegates. She's behind in West Virginia by a pretty good margin behind Sanders, well into the double digits. No recent polling on Kentucky. But Joe's right. She's going there for the primary. I think the idea that she has a good chance to carry these states in the general election, her chances are slim and none, and Slim is now cinching up his saddle, getting ready to ride out of town. These states were battlegrounds in 2000, but they have moved against the Democrats, particularly during the Obama years, and Hillary Clinton is ill-placed, especially after her comments earlier this year, to get them back.
Yeah, the last time West Virginia voted for a Democrat for president, Joe, was 1996. Her husband, Bill Clinton. So can she, I don't know, turn the historic tide and win that coal country vote?
Well, Karl's right. It's a tough uphill fight for her. But again, given the problems on the Republican side and the split there may be an opportunity. I mean, you look at this, and a lot of people in these states, if they had to choose between a Obama economy, the Bush economy, or the Clinton economy, would probably look favorably on the Clinton economy when her husband Bill Clinton was president. So I agree with Karl. It's uphill. She's got a tough case to make, but it's good for her to make it. And we're a long way from November at this point.
But a lot of voters, Karl, would see Hillary Clinton as a third term of Barack Obama. He has made an anti-coal agenda a centerpiece of his administration. How does she try and convince voters in Appalachian coal country that she wouldn't do more of the same?
She doesn't. I don't expect to see her back in West Virginia between the primary and the general election. I'd be surprised if she went back to Kentucky. Joe makes the point that they have a choice between the Clinton economy, the Bush economy, and the Obama economy. They clearly don't like the Obama economy. And I would remind you, it was the Clinton administration that began to move against coal with EPA support for a decision that would stop mountaintop mining in West Virginia. It's why Bush won the state by 6 points after Bob Dole lost it to Bill Clinton in 1996 by 16. And it's one of the reasons why Bush won Kentucky by double digits. So, look, in West Virginia, they're socially and economically conservative and populist, and that is not the right mix for the Democrats in 2016. These are states that are going to be in the Republican column, particularly West Virginia, with a great deal of reliability and predictability.
Let's talk about the economy, because obviously that's one of the issues that our next president is going to have to address. Not particularly good economic numbers out recently, Joe. Again, how does Hillary Clinton separate herself from President Obama when she was, at his hip during his first term?
Well, look, she's got her own case that she's making and is making. She's got a plan to put money, billions of dollars, into revitalizing the economy in these two states, in Appalachia, that she's put out there. She's got to make that case. Look, I agree with Karl that if Republicans are fighting over, if they don't win Kentucky and West Virginia, there's no chance at all of winning the presidency in November. That we're going to have, Trump is going to have to put his economic plan out there. He hasn't done that really yet. Cruz has one. And they're going to fight over that in November. The economy is going to be front and center, but Hillary Clinton is making inroads and is in the lead in most states, in most of the swing states anyway, currently. Again, that's all going to change between now and November, but that's what the general election's about, that fight.
Yeah, Carl, on paper, the recession ended several years ago, but what, 40% of Americans still think we're in one?
Yeah, I mean, it's a sign of how weak and anemic this recovery's been. It is the worst. It is the most anemic in the recorded economic history of the United States, extending back to the last quarter of the 19th century. It is the only recovery in which median household income dropped, and even now, even though we now have finally more people working in America than we had when the recession began, we have more people working part-time for economic reasons. That is to say, they can't find a full-time job. And again, that desperate thing is that people don't feel like they're in a recovery. Their wages have not risen. We've only seen wages begin to rise recently, and then they look at the country as a whole and say, you know, the president doubled the deficit, doubled the national debt to $19 trillion, and he made us a whole series of promises about what would happen to the economy if we passed the stimulus bill. None of those came to pass, and then he made a whole series of promises about my health care, and none of them came to pass. So there's a great deal of angst about the economy. The president's approval rating on the economy is in the 30s. That's not a good place to be if you're Hillary Clinton and you've given him an A for his performance on the economy.
Yeah, one of the big issues, obviously, that voters will decide in November. Carl Rove, Joe Trippi, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.